New Texas Tech student will be helping to keep school spirit alive and has some big shoes to fill. A new Raider Red stepped into the role during the passing of the gun ceremony this afternoon, receiving those signature pistols and starting their term as the mustache face of Tech spirit. This annual ceremony keeps the new Raider Red anonymous while unmasking the two students who previously represented the university as one of its most iconic cheerleaders. And Sophie Jones is the 65th masked rider. The animal science major from Houston accepted the reins for Centennial champion earlier this afternoon. Former masked rider Rose Rosas passed off the iconic hat, mask, and cape in today's ceremony. For Jones, representing Texas Tech is another part of her family's tradition, coming from a long line of generations of Red Raiders.
This university stands for tradition, resilience, and spirit, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. As I take these reins, I promise to honor that heritage, represent Texas Tech well, and give everything I have to this role. Thank you, and welcome.